You are Locked On Dodgers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
To the Locked On Dodgers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen to us on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. I am Pete Fox, host of the Dodgers Postcast. You can also find your friends Jeff and Vince on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. You probably make them your first listen of the day for the everydayers, and you make me your second listen of the day after the game is over. And we appreciate you guys tremendously. The Locked On Podcast Network would not be where it is today without your help. Dodgers, woo! Finally pull one out. They didn't play great. Had a few miraculous hits. It was shaky and scary pretty much throughout, but they got it done. 5-4 or 4-3. Either way, it is a one-run come from behind win. And that's a good feeling because I'll tell you, the frustration level was up high and starting to get higher as I was boiling early in this game. And that was really primarily not due to the things the Dodgers weren't doing. It was due to how good that Tarek Skubal could pitch. That guy can bring it. And that would cause a lot of teams to struggle. We heard yesterday on the crossover with Mark from Philly, who I guess the Phils just recently faced off against the Tigers and Skubal. And he pointed out that guy is tough and hard to get anything going against. And that's for sure. High 90s on a regular basis, hanging around 100 every now and then and striking out 8, giving up 2 runs on just 2 hits, one of which was a home run from Freddie Freeman. And that was really nice to see that Freddie broke out because he's been in a big funk and slump during this 4-game losing streak as well. 0 against the Philadelphia Phillies. Will Smith has been in a bad way. Shohei Ohtani has not been good. So there's been a lot of holes in this Dodger lineup that tonight were partially filled. It took a while to get there because the first 8, really, let's say 7, because they scored in the 8th and the 9th. There wasn't much of anything going on other than that 3-run fourth where Freddie homered and they pushed another one across. So a nice come from behind win. Tigers are not a great team, but they've been playing okay. And when you got Skubal on the mound, you're a much, much better team. So 4-3 the win tonight. Tigers are now 45-50, 22-24 at Comerica, just a couple of games under 500. Dodgers improved to 56-39, 28-20 on the road. We've mentioned and touched on some of the positives. I'll get to obviously more of those, but I feel like without a doubt, there are more negatives to address tonight again than there were positives, without a doubt. Also wanted to mention tonight's episode of the Locked On Dodgers Postcast is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rival city. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. James Paxton started for the Dodgers. He was James Paxton, but the Tigers got off to a good start, and the Dodgers were playing from behind once again. And that is just not a good place to be. That's not a good feeling. I don't like playing from behind. Especially when you're struggling. It's hard to break out of a slump when you're playing from behind, especially when they put up runs early like the Tigers did today with 2 in the first inning. And then you come out against Skubal, and he's just mowing people down, making the Dodger hitters look ridiculous. James Paxton went 3 2/3, giving up 3 runs on 5 hits. He walked 4, which that is not a good performance from him. But they figured out a way to get the win. He did not get the win. Peterson got the win. Is now 3-0. He went 1 inning, walked 1, struck out 1. The rest zeros, 24 pitches for him. The bullpen in total, 5 1/3 scoreless innings, which is fantastic. That's what you like. That's what is going to make this team continue to push towards the playoffs and a World Series. As for the starting rotation, still ton of problems, ton of holes, ton of issues. And I think at this point, we'd all be better served to just maybe bury our head in the sands right now, or the sand, about where they are with regard to starting pitching, because I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. Unless, of course, Yamamoto gets well over the break. I don't see that happening when he's got rotator cuff issues and tricep issues. Obviously, Kershaw is hanging out there in the balance. We haven't heard a whole lot. Made some rehab starts. Didn't feel completely healthy. There was soreness, and since then, we haven't heard a lot. So he's potentially right around the corner, and that'd be nice to get him out there and eat up some innings. I'm assuming at this point, if Kershaw is healthy and back, he's starting, right? They're going to throw him out there. They're not going to bring him in middle relief. He has too much experience and too much of a gamer to accept that sort of thing, especially when all the other starters are on the IL. So really right now, Gavin Stone's your only healthy starter, and he hasn't been good. But then again, look, this streak has permeated throughout the entire Dodger rotation, clubhouse. Really, the only ones that haven't been affected dramatically are the bullpen. You know, those are the guys that have been coming out kind of day after day and doing their job and trying to keep this ship afloat. Starters ERA since June 29th, early in this game. I don't know what it is right at this moment after this game, but early in this game, it was 7.14. Woo! That's ugly. You know what else was ugly today? The Tigers Motor City Connect jerseys. It was not pretty. Those are not good. There's nothing about those that I like. I couldn't find one part of it that was like, well, that's okay. Again, to me, we were talking about it watching the game. My daughter was like, what's up with those jerseys? And I was like, those are their City Connect jerseys. And she's like, I don't get it. I'm like, how does that connect you to the city of Detroit? Although she liked them. I didn't. She's like, I think they're pretty cool, especially the hats. The hats were the worst part. Detroit? That was just awful. That Old English D is classic. You don't get much more classic than that. That's right up there with Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox. You know, you see that, you know exactly what it is. So the fact that they didn't incorporate that some way, shape, or form was a mistake. The fact that they didn't incorporate the orange that is part of the Tigers uniforms ensemble was also a mistake. And just the monochromatic blue on blue with the gradient jerseys that looked like it was the police versus the firemen softball game. It just wasn't good, especially the hats. The hats were the worst. And then on the helmets, they have like two-tone. The whole thing just screams softball to me. Unlike yesterday, we didn't get time to talk about it because we had so much else to discuss regarding the game itself. But Philly's throwback jerseys and uniforms yesterday were fantastic. I absolutely love that color scheme. I know I've mentioned it before, but the handful of teams that wore those uniforms in the 80s, I wish I'm bummed that the Dodgers never did, except like in the 20s, they wore baby blue for a season. And occasionally they'll bring them back on a throwback day, but it's very rare. And those were awesome. They were baby blue, top and bottom. But the Philly throwback with the maroon and the powder blue is awesome. The pinstripes all the way down to the feet. The hats are cool. St. Louis has them. Kansas City has them. Pittsburgh, I believe. No, not Pittsburgh. They never had baby blue. That would have been weird, right? Who else had? Oh, Atlanta. There was 4 or 5 teams that had those. I said Kansas City. There's one more that I'm forgetting, but I believe Texas did it for a while. They're not as old as those other teams, but yeah, the baby blue is top notch. One of my favorites with regard to throwbacks, if not my favorite. Looked awesome tonight. Not so much for the City Connect. I mean, again, to me, the concept of City Connect is about connecting with your city. Detroit, Motor City. Yeah, they said Motor City, but they could have had something with regard to like maybe a checkered flag, although that would be more appropriate for an Indianapolis. They don't have a team. So I feel like they could have stole that. Yeah, Mr. Seabat here echoing my sentiments. Tigers uniforms tonight stolen from my beer league softball team and we want them back. Yeah, it just wasn't good. Swing and a miss. I like loud, bright uniforms. I'm okay with the monochromatic, but the blue is not tiger blue. It would be like the Dodgers having a different blue in their City Connect. It doesn't make any sense. Dodger blue is a very specific color, as you can see. Giant fans hate it, as we've heard. A lot of people that aren't Dodger fans don't like Dodger blue. But tiger blue is like Yankee blue. It's a very specific dark navy blue. That had to be incorporated in there. They just missed. Swing and a miss. Good news is they can come back with another City Connect next year. Hopefully it'll be much better. Dodgers in their good old-fashioned road grays with Los Angeles across the chest did the job tonight. Coming from behind on a Shohei Ohtani single up the middle, or double rather, that was roped to center field. That would have been a home run in almost any other ballpark. He hit that ball perfectly on the screws and just absolutely laced it. It was a no doubt extra base hit, and it got the Dodgers on top, which they held on to with Daniel Hudson on the mound. We'll talk about this 5 1/3 from the bullpen, and there are a few question marks hanging over the rotation of these 5 guys. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Thanks for making us your first listen and your second listen of the day. You can also listen to us on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. All right, tonight's episode of the Locked On Dodgers postcast, a 4-3 win for the boys in blue over the Tigers in D-Town, is brought to you by Booking.com. Yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to know a little bit more about, but maybe didn't explore because your rival lives in that city. This is Boston for me, right? I am by no means a Boston Red Sox fan. I've been to New York. I'm also not a New York fan, but I've been to New York and I love it. I think it's a very cool city. Never been to Boston. Everyone says it's awesome. And the main reason is because I hate the Red Sox. So I might have to explore the New England area at some point soon. And if I do, I will absolutely be booking probably a B&B, because that'd be cool, up the coast there. Martha's Vineyard area. That'd be fantastic. But if you don't like B&Bs, you want a hotel or maybe something larger for the whole family, vacation rental, or just a good old-fashioned resort, there's so much more available to you on Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival's city. From hotels that overlook the stadium like at Petco. My microphone is just making noise tonight. I apologize. Again, from hotels that overlook stadiums like at Petco in San Diego to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this Major League Baseball season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or on the app. Tonight's show also brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. eBay Motors will help you keep your number one ride or die alive. Passion, drive, and patience are also what bring home the winning trophy. eBay Motors has everything you need to keep your vehicle in tip-top shape and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, brakes, and more. I've purchased many different parts, including brake kits, not just the pads, the rotors, the whole deal, and saved a ton of money doing it on eBay Motors. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. All right, Dodgers come from behind with a 4-3 win in the ninth inning on a clutch, game-changing, pivotal moment from Shohei Ohtani, who really had been struggling coming into this, been going through a bit of a funk. He was 0 for 4 in this one prior to the game-winning RBI in the ninth. The good news was he didn't look foolish at any time striking out today. He put bat to ball, grounded out to third, flied out to center, flied out to left. He did strike out swinging in the eighth, but I thought it was a good at bat. I didn't feel like it was that I'm just up here flailing away like we've seen from him lately. But more importantly, the ninth inning ground rule double that was mashed straight up the middle. And, he got into a home run trot. He hit it so good that he thought it was gone, kind of forgot where he was because Comerica Park there in Detroit is just a huge ballpark, and it is really, really hard to get balls out of there, even with the humidity. But let's get to the Diamond Dogs list. Shohei Ohtani, obviously number one, but there are 5 others. So we had an extra one today. So we'll say number 6, Freddie Freeman solo shot in the 4th. It was a 1-2 changeup, and he laced that ball to center field. He had, 0 for the entire Philly series. I believe it was 0 for 11. So that was a welcome sight to see him hit that one 405 feet, his 14th homer of the season. For number 5, a 2-out single from Pages in the 4th, scoring Teoscar, who also got on base there. So 3 consecutive hits, and that was nice to see. As for number 4, nice job from Yohan Ramirez. Came in a jam when they pulled out James Paxton, and there were runners on, and he kept it at a 1-run ball game at that point, 3-2. So he's been really good coming out of the bullpen, and I like to see it when he comes out because he takes care of business, as does Evan Phillips. So my question leading into the break, which we'll get back to the Diamond Dogs list here in a second. What is Evan Phillips doing as the 3rd guy in the rotation? Paxton started. Ramirez came in to fill for him. Then Phillips. Why is Phillips not closing? Daniel Hudson closed. Ultimately, he got the job done, but it was a little shaky. Why is it? That's Daniel Hudson's spot right after Yohan Ramirez. Makes no sense to me. I don't understand what that's all about other than to shake things up. And if that's the case, damn you, Mr. Seabad. This is what my boss gets really, really, really upset at. When I read a comment and I get sidetracked after already being sidetracked and I start laughing. Seabad says, I'm too close to the mic and it's popping. Same problem CT3 has at the plate. He's too close to the plate and popping up. Hey, take it easy now. Anyway, I didn't understand the rotation of Evan Phillips in long before the 9th inning and bringing Daniel Hudson in. It worked out. It's all good. Maybe there was some sort of motivation behind it. Maybe it will give Daniel Hudson some more confidence. Not that he needs it. He's been very good. He's got a 1.63 ERA. Maybe they think he's just better than Evan Phillips. Evan Phillips has been a tad bit shaky of late. His ERA 2.2. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just obvious statistical maneuvering. So I could be the idiot here. That wouldn't be the first time. For number 3, Freddie and Will Smith, both with clutch hits, singles in the top of the 8th. Then number 2, Teoscar, the game tying single. It was the 3rd consecutive hit. They all came with 2 outs, and that is clutch as it gets. That's awesome. Austin Barnes then came in. A pinch hit, first pitch swinging, cued it off the end of the bat to center field for a base hit. And then the pivotal moment, number 1 on the Diamond Dogs list tonight, Shohei Ohtani's go-ahead RBI double off the wall to make it 4-3, torched it to center field, and hopefully that will get him out of the slump. Will Smith, also a clutch hit in the 9th to get out of that slump, hopefully. He's been awful of late, especially early today's game. The hat trick. Struck out swinging, struck out swinging, struck out looking, singled to left, and then was intentionally walked. So sometimes it's just one hit, one at bat. And Will Smith hasn't been going through it for very long. I was surprised to hear that Miguel Vargas is mired in the middle of a fairly long, almost 20 at bat slump at this point, because he had been really hot. We were throwing around numbers of a batting average over 400 since being called back up to the bigs from AAA. So he's been going through it as well. Tonight, 0 for 3. The average now back down around 250. Again, that split is since he had been called up. I don't exactly know what that number is right now, but he's definitely struggling. Flied out to center, grounded out to short, struck out swinging. So hopefully he can get back after it as well. James Outman, pinch hit, but then was pulled before it got to the plate. Probably a good thing because Austin Barnes came in and cued that ball to center field, which would ultimately be the game-winning run. Dodgers with a 4-3 come from behind win, and it just feels good. It really does. This is not a big win, not an important win, but it is uplifting. It feels good, right? They looked awful for a good portion of this game, doing all the things wrong that have been bugging the crap out of us for the last 4 games. You know, Chris Taylor, awful at bats. He's just late. Is it just me, or does it seem like he's late all the time? Unless he gets what he's waiting for, which is what he did in the 9th inning. Singling to right. Big part of the comeback, right? He got what he was waiting for. And I was wrong. Chris Taylor scored the game-winning run, not Austin Barnes. Sorry, Taylor had that pivotal swing and base hit to right field that I was going to point out to Mr. Seabat, who loves to ridicule and mock Chris Taylor, as I've been doing frequently because he's looked awful. Even though he's kind of found it a little bit and started to make contact and had some base hits, had some home runs, his May and June were his April and May were so god awful that his average was like 64. So now that it's 160 or something like that, 158, you know, it's at least moderately respectable. It's still well below the Mendoza line, but his average was so low that, you know, it's going to take a miracle for him to get back to like 220, 230 in that neighborhood. But tonight looked awful his first at bats. And then in the 9th inning when it mattered, which is really more important than anything, found a pitch that he was waiting for, breaking ball over the plate, shortened his swing a tad bit and poked it into right field for a base hit. Scored the game-winning run. So get off Chris Taylor today because he had the game-winning run. We're also going to talk about something that was very, very different tonight at third base than it was last night. And I don't mean the person playing third base. I mean the guy standing in the little box just to the left of third base. We'll get to that after the break. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen to us on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. You make Jeff and Vince, the Locked On Dodgers daily host, your first listen. Then you make me your second listen right after the game. Thank you to all the everydayers for joining us here on the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, tonight's episode of the Locked On Dodgers postcast also brought to you by our friends at Stitch Fix. You know that instant boost of confidence that you get when you get a new outfit on that makes you look really good and, more importantly, feel really good? Well, that's what you get with Stitch Fix, because they help you pick out outfits for every occasion that fit within your budget, and a stylist is there to help you. You give them the information that you want. Like, I like t-shirts, I like long sleeve button downs, I like jeans, I like khakis, whatever your style is. And really a lot of that, you know, has to do with the time of year and the part of the country that you live in. Like this time of year out here in California, we're in shorts and t-shirts or maybe golf shirts. And really that's about it. So, you know, that's what I would tell my Stitch Fix consultant, designer, stylist, professional stylist, that's what I need if I was looking to find a new outfit to get, upgrade my outfit or my wardrobe rather. So that's what I would say to them. And they would say, okay, what's your budget? I would tell them, and they send outfits. If you don't like it, here's the best part. You can send it back. You just send it back. Shipping and returns and exchanges are always free. So Stitch Fix takes the hassle out of shopping for those of you who do not like to shop. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/locked-on. That's stitchfix.com/locked-on. LOCKEDON. Stitchfix.com/locked-on. All right, Dodgers with a 4-3 come from behind 9th inning win on the back of Shohei Ohtani. And to a certain extent, Dino Ebel at third base, getting aggressive. I love it. And I apologize to anyone who felt that the term take off your skirt was offensive. It is offensive, and I'm not going to say that anymore, so I apologize. But anyway, tonight, Dino Ebel, aggressive, going for it, being bold, loud, not timid over there. Had a who was it was it Miggy? I can't remember who it was at second base, but there was a base hit and the runner on second, he did not hesitate 1 second. The second that ball went through the infield, it was a Freddie Freeman. No, I'm sorry. It was an Andy Pages single to right. Teoscar was at second. And the second that ball got through the infield, Dino Ebel was wheeling him. There was no slowing down. There was no hesitation. There was nothing but we need to score this guy right now. And that's exactly what I was looking for last night. What I felt they needed last night, but he did not do it. He held him up, maybe because it loaded the bases for Shohei Ohtani, who then promptly struck out. But maybe he learned his lesson last night. I don't know. The fact of the matter is tonight, he came out there, had his big boy pants on, and took care of business. And that was awesome. That was awesome to see. Not often does what happens by the third base coach really, really matter. But after the Freddie Freeman homer to make it 3-1, the Pages single made it 3-2. And you're right back in the ball game at that point. So that was a big, big run by Andy Pages singling home Teoscar Hernandez. So nice to see. Really was. So that was good. And you're right, BC. Again, I said I was sorry. I apologize. Those are things that we've said a long time, and we've said them for years. We shouldn't have been saying them for years, but we did. And, times are changing, and that's good. That's the way it should be. I don't know that I agree with you here, BC. I'm not going to DFA him. Not mainly because Dodgers are all banged up. They need defense, right? They're probably going to try to find a bat who can play infield during this, during the All-Star break, during the free agency period leading up to the trade deadline. So I think obviously pitchers are atop that list. Number one, starting pitchers or a starter, anybody, obviously this guy that started tonight, Skubal for the Detroit Tigers, that kind of guy would be amazing. That would be a large larceny in a very big way if they could figure out how to steal that guy from the Tigers. There obviously have been no rumors floating around. Detroit knows what they've got in him, but that's the kind of guy you could rebuild your farm system with. That's the kind of guy that you could you trade and you could get 5 prospects. If you decide potentially that your team is in a rebuild, the Detroit Tigers have been going through a handful of those recently. There are no rumors floating around that Tarek Skubal is on the market by any stretch of the imagination. But, that's the kind of guy that the Dodgers would love to find. As I mentioned yesterday, that White Sox guy, I'm forgetting his name right at the top of my head, but if they could get that guy out there in the rotation, that would be fantastic. He's going to cost players and money as well. And that's number one on their list. But again, so is a bat and potentially a glove because there's just, they're dealing with injuries right now. Mookie, obviously, he'll be back sooner before later, but Max Muncy is just a huge question mark. Nobody knows when or if at all he's going to come back. This injury of his rib cage has just gone on longer than most people expected that it would. So I feel like those are the two things on the Dodgers wish list and the two things that Friedman and the Dodger front office are going to be in search of as they head into the All-Star break and the period leading up to the trade deadline. So a win tonight snaps a 4-game skid for the Dodgers. Again, 56-39, 8 games over 500 on the road. Tigers fall to 45-50, 22-24. Win tomorrow would be fantastic to get a series win heading into the All-Star break, and just, make everyone feel a little bit better about the time off. They would probably be able to relax a little bit more and not stress so much. And I know, let's be honest, I probably stress about these things more than a lot of people, or more than the Dodgers do, for sure. This is their job, right? They know it's July. There's still a long way to go. They get all of that and understand it more intimately than I do. But I do believe that it would be good for them to have some positive vibes in the clubhouse going into the All-Star break, and a series win would do that. Tomorrow's starters for the Dodgers, the rookie Justin Robleski will take on Keter Montero. An early start here in SoCal, 10:10 in the morning. They'll get after it. Be sure to join me right after here on the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. You can also find us wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. And don't forget to check out Jeff and Vince with the Locked On Dodgers daily podcast on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. And they're on the Locked On Sport. How does it go? The Locked On Dodgers LA YouTube channel, which is a little different than the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. That's where you find them on YouTube. I'm Pete Fox again. Thank you for joining me here. We'll be back tomorrow right after the early start for the Dodgers and Tigers in D-Town at Comerica. So be sure to join me here, and I will talk to you then. Thank you very much. Have a good night.